When investors think of gold districts, they tend to collectively think of the more common regions of the world, like BC's Golden Triangle, Quebec's Abitibi, the Yukon's Tintina Belt, Nevada's Walker Lane Trend, or maybe even something more exotic like Colombia. But all of those regions have one commodity against themselves: fractured ownership. They're well known because so many different explorers over the years have staked some small claims, made a discovery, and built a mine. That exploration success entices the next group to stake some more claims, make their own discovery, and the process repeats. In turn, investors hear constant pitches for these regions, which builds these districts into the common lexicon of investors, which brings in more investment dollars, and the cycle repeats on and on. But what about those potentially world-class districts that don't have fractured ownership, where one company owns the entire meat and potatoes of the district? Well, then you're likely talking about a company like Altamira Gold. Let's dive in. Altamira defines itself as a first mover within the relatively unknown Alta Floresta Belt in the north of the state of Mato Grosso, Brazil. Like numerous juniors out there, they're elephant hunting. But in the case of Altamira, they actually seem to be an elephant country. CEO Michael Bennett puts it like this.
I first saw the project in 2006. It was my first incursion into Brazil. I saw a project or saw an area where over an east-west trend of 15 kilometers, every single stream had been worked for alluvial gold by the local miners, the garimpeiros. Now, that kind of rung a bell in my head. It said, well, either all of the gold, which was originally primary gold, has been eroded away and is in these streams and has been worked by these local miners, or else there is a big primary to be discovered here.
And that's the thesis that Bennett and now Altamira have operated on since having first laid eyes on the property all those years ago. Except now they've enticed Quinton Hennigh and his Crescat capital to take a stake in the company, given the opportunity that is believed to exist here. Hennigh has helped push the exploration effort forward since getting involved in, well...
So over the last 18 months, what do? We send the geologists out, we do stream sediment sampling, we do soil sampling, we do geophysical surveys, we do rock sampling, and what do we find? We find in total 11 targets, which we believe are similar targets to Maria Bonita. And that's where the project, the Little Cajueiro Gold Project, suddenly becomes a much, much more important game, because it's now a district, it's a porphyry district, and it's 100% owned by Altamira Gold.
Stepping back a bit, Altamira Gold controls a total of 90,000 hectares within the Alta Floresta Belt of Brazil, which is a relatively young region in terms of gold exploration and development, with just 25 years of historic placer production in the area. But that lack of historic work also breeds opportunity. Altamira has a total of 4 projects spread across the belt, with those projects located in the most prolific former alluvial gold production centers, with projects including Collidor, Apiacas, Nova Cana, and Quageiro, the latter of which has developed into the flagship asset of Altamira. And they are one of the first explorers to conduct systematic hard rock exploration in the entire region. Quageiro itself is found 1.5 hours north of the small city of Alta Floresta by paved highway, with the property straddling the border between the states of Para and Mato Grosso. District scale in size at over 24,000 hectares, the property has had resource estimates defined at both Quageiro Central, which hosts 185,000 ounces of gold at 1.02 grams per ton gold in the indicated category, and 515,000 ounces of gold at 1.26 grams per ton in the inferred category. And at Maria Bonita, which has 357,000 ounces of gold at 0.46 grams per ton in the indicated category, and 362,000 ounces of gold at 0.44 grams per ton gold in the inferred category. Quageiro Central was the subject of placer gold production in the 1980s and 90s, with the camp being one of the largest placer camps across the entire belt. The deposit remains open both at depth and along strike, while the resource estimate was conducted at just $1,500 an ounce gold. That Maria Bonita resource estimate, however, is particularly notable, given the fact it was outlined following just 4,500 meters of drilling within 29 holes. The target was initially drill tested after an original soil anomaly measuring 800 meters by 800 meters was identified in an area where there had been no outcrops or prior mining activity. 76% of soil samples collected are said to have measured in excess of 100 parts per billion gold. This lack of outcrop meant that the target was not previously mined by artisanal miners, while drill testing has demonstrated at least 4 stages of porphyry intrusion and associated alteration, alongside veining and breccia development. And deep drilling at Maria Bonita has proven extremely fruitful as well. The first deep drill hole conducted, the assays for which were released just weeks ago, intersected 395 meters of 0.4 grams per ton gold, starting at a depth of just 44 meters in quartz porphyry intrusive rocks. The hole was a 50-meter step out from the prior hole, MBA 029, which encountered 213 meters of 0.8 grams per ton gold, including 146 meters of 1 gram per ton gold, resulting in a significant extension to the size of the mineralized porphyry system, particularly at depth. Gold values were also consistent throughout the entire width, with just 3 1-meter intervals exceeding 2 grams per ton gold. Further drilling since the release of those assays are now targeting the down plunge extension of the higher grade core to the deposit. But Maria Bonita and Querétaro Central aren't the only targets of interest on the larger Querétaro property. There's also a further 3 targets that are only partially tested prospects with limited exploration on them, and a further 8 untested prospects set to see exploration. The partially tested prospects, consisting of Taveros, Taninho, and Morro Verde, have seen limited drilling to date and require further exploration. Notably, all 3 crowd the Querétaro Central deposit. The 8 untested targets, meanwhile, consist of intrusive related occurrences, gold in soil anomalies, drone magnetic anomalies, and mineralized grab samples. But there's a bigger picture here, and that is how these deposits and targets are potentially interconnected. Gold mineralization is related to a pronounced east-west corridor extending over 8 kilometers, and historically has been defined by the source zones of a 15-kilometer stretch of former alluvial deposits along the Teles-Paris River. Specifically, Maria Bonita demonstrates the porphyry style of mineralization that is believed to be the feeder system for the region as a whole. Mineralized porphyries commonly occur in clusters, and these untested gold occurrences can currently be interpreted within the porphyry model. Altamira currently views these gold occurrences as being higher levels of the system, suggesting potential exists at shallow depth below the surface. And now it's just a matter of proving it. To do just that, Altamira intends to continue drilling to expand current resources at both the Querétaro Central and Maria Bonita deposits, with bulk sampling also planned near surface oxide material. Scout drilling is also set to be undertaken on 5 prioritized porphyry targets within the larger district as the company works towards bringing it all together. As for the company itself, Altamira is led by Michael Bennett, who is CEO and president of the company. He comes to Altamira with over 35 years of industry experience and credits 3 gold discoveries to his name, including at Querétaro. Prior to Altamira, Bennett worked in a series of joint ventures that included majors such as Barrick, Goldfields, and Rio Tinto. Chairing Altamira, meanwhile, is Alan Carter, who was the co-founder of both Peregrine Metals, which was acquired in 2011, and Magellan Minerals, which was acquired in 2016. He's currently the CEO of Cabral Gold, with previous employers including both Rio Tinto and BHP Billiton. Another notable member of the board includes Ian Talbot, a lawyer in geo with over 2.5 decades of industry experience, including being the former chairman of Goldcorp. In terms of structure, the company has approximately 265 million shares outstanding, with major shareholders including Crescat Capital at 16%, Aura Minerals at 11%, and insiders at 7%, the bulk of which is owned by the CEO. Alright, so let's wrap it up. The thing about junior explorers is no one is a believer until the drill bit hits. And then there are suddenly hundreds of investors that claim they never doubted the company. In the case of Altamira, they've had that big drill bit hit. 395 meters of 0.4 grams per ton gold. And well, it seems to be slowly starting to convince investors that there's something pretty real here. Now it's just a matter of connecting the dots across the multitude of targets on site to demonstrate just how massive this system really is. And that should be just a matter of continued execution. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. As always, if there's stories you want us to cover, please let us know in the comments section. Also, if you want more mining content, check out our website over at thedeepdive.ca. And if you enjoyed this video, do us a favor, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. All right, everybody, thanks for watching.